Hi, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to you all today. My name is Nikki Murphy, and some of you may have heard already the stories and media reports of what happened to our son Ruben. Hi Ruben, when he tried to find a good place for him. So we are a non-religious family, and we live in town here in Dublin 6 West. We have two sons, Ruben, who is 4.5, and Roscoe, who is 1.5, at home with his aunt, fast asleep I hope. And my husband Clem and I were both raised Catholics, but like many others, when we were older, we drifted away from the church. The issue of religious belief, or lack of it, was just never a topic of conversation in our house. And in 2010, when we got married, we had a civil marriage. I was actually pregnant during the last election with Ruben, and back then I believed that there was a plan in place to resolve the current situation in primary schools. At that time, divestment was at the top of the agenda. And never did I believe that 5 years on I would be in this situation talking to you all here today. However, I wasn't complacent either. Despite trying to enrol Ruben in 9 schools from when he was only a few weeks old, I was unable to secure a school place for him at all for 2015. All of the 4 schools that are in our area under religious patronage, Ruben is in the bottom categories of all of the enrolment policies. He is category 4 of 5, 9 of 9, and category 11 of 11, where schools don't get past category 1 or 2 in offering places. Sorry. So Ruben is spending another year in crash, and for 2016 I've applied to 15 schools for him, and most of them are just ridiculously too far away to be practical for us. Blow by blow, the rejections came in, and each one hurt. Each one filled me with dread and fear for Ruben. Where was he going to go to school? How far will he have to travel to place him in what will most likely be another religious school? Can we afford to move house? Will one of us need to stop working to manage drop-offs and pick-ups that are far from home? Should we just leave the country that treats our children like second-class citizens? Should we go against our conscience and baptise them? My boys are not a threat to anyone's religious thoughts. Their obsessions are limited to Thomas the Tank Engine, Paw Patrol, and Santa. I came to the conclusion that if this is how Ruben is being treated and trying to access a religious school, then how is he going to feel in a religious school during the day? I don't want him to feel left out, sitting at the back of the class during religious instruction. I don't want him to feel conflicted and isolated during the sacrament years. I also don't want him to be spending lots of time by himself instead of learning. Our preference for Ruben would be for him to attend an Educate Together school in our community, but there isn't one. We have applied to 4 Educate Together schools in different parts of Dublin. However, they are hugely oversubscribed, with hundreds of applications for only a few places. I felt angry and frustrated that the state-funded system doesn't cater for families like us. The response from sometimes well-meaning people made me feel worse. Why don't you just baptise him? You are harming Ruben by not allowing him to go to school in his community with his friends. Baptise him, it's a practical solution to a real problem. Why are you doing this to yourself? I don't blame families who decide to go through with practical baptism. I felt very isolated. I knew of no one else in the same position. So one day in April this year, I put up a poster on a bus stop, and I asked if anyone was interested in an Educate Together school in Dublin 6 or 6 West, and I included my email address, and the emails came flooding in. Our locality is one of the areas surveyed in 2012 by the Department of Education under the Forum for Patronage and Pluralism. A clear demand was demonstrated at that time, with 51% choosing Educate Together. 3 years on, the demand has increased significantly, with 1,000 children registered for the proposed school. Yet we have no guarantee of success and no guarantee that we can open a school in time for Ruben and the other children in desperate need for 2016. The department is currently in negotiations with the Catholic Church. Parents I am in touch with who are affected by the religious discrimination in accessing schools are very annoyed that their right to send their children to an equality-based school relies on benevolence of a church to which they do not subscribe. It is policy that divestment schools are opened under a cost-neutral basis. This simply is not practical and is not working. The department determined that there are enough school places in our area for children who live there. Yet they acknowledge that there is significant inflow from surrounding areas to these schools. There is no demographic need for a new school. The department provided us with a long list of religious schools that extra classes will be provided for under a new building programme. This is so unbelievably offensive to suggest as a solution to parents whose children are not guaranteed a seat in those classrooms until after all the desks are taken by children of religious families. Our children are always at the end of everyone's list, always at the end of everyone's list. It is state-funded religious discrimination. Educate Together do amazing work on the ground, providing a quality-based education for all children who attend their schools, regardless of their religious or non-religious backgrounds. The support we have had for our 10-year Educate Together campaign has been phenomenal, and our campaign will continue. However, I have been motivated by the other parents and the contact that I've received from parents in different parts of the country. Parents who have no choice, who cannot access local schools, and whose children are not being respected during the school day. This is why I became involved in the founding of Education Equality. I no longer feel like I'm alone. There is a huge groundswell of parents and individuals from diverse backgrounds who will not accept this situation any longer. Education Equality is a truly grassroots organisation. I'm involved because of what I have learned over the last few months, and it's time for everyone to work together towards change. Unfortunately, my story is not a unique one, and as April has mentioned, we've launched our 30 Days of Stories. These are 30 families, all affected by religious discrimination. Some need to tell their stories anonymously to protect their children, and in some cases their jobs. This is an important step in raising awareness of what happens on the ground when religious discrimination takes place. Children are hurt, whole families and communities are affected, and all discrimination causes damage. Thank you.